Okay, I already told him I might go a little bit long because I found out my contagious faith style is storytelling.
No, there we go.
So, sorry about that. So kind of interesting, I'm actually reading Exodus right now, and I think it's Exodus 4, and when God talks to Moses, he tells him, okay, I'm going to need you to perform these miracles, and you're going to go have to talk to Pharaoh and go get your people freed, right? And Moses says, I suck at public speaking. Please don't have me do that. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm going to be with you. He's like, no, you don't understand. I suck. I really suck at public speaking. He's like, okay, fine. I'm going to send your brother Aaron with you. So I thought that was really interesting. I just read that. I think God's with me tonight. I think I'll be all right. If I seem a little wobbly, it's because it was leg day. So I think I'll be okay. I'll start with a little bit of background. My name's Ryan Rocca. You guys all know that. I'm 47. I'm divorced. I have no kids. I do have 3 siblings. I've worked for Progressive Insurance for almost 16 years. You probably notice I'm kind of funny looking, or maybe a little exotic looking. My parents are actually a mixed race couple, and they got together in the 60s when it was kind of frowned upon. In fact, my grandparents didn't want them together. And then I found out later, I was born in the mid-70s, but I was actually an IUD baby. So I kind of beat the odds there. Kind of a small miracle I'm even here. So that's a good start. My parents are both believers, but I don't recall them ever going to church with us. We used to actually go with our grandparents every Sunday. There was no flip-flops, no shorts back then. We'd always get dressed up for church. If we were good, we got $1, so we got paid to go. And we'd get McDonald's every Sunday, so that was good. We went to Bible camp a couple of summers, and my grandparents would actually pay us to learn scripture. I honestly don't know what my relationship with Jesus was at the time. I do think I was a believer. But about the time I was 12 or 13 years old, I decided to become a proud atheist. So a lot of stuff happened around that time. My parents got divorced. My grandpa died, who we would go to church with. And then my older brother, he's not like this. He started listening to his devil music. And then he strayed from the church. And I didn't think a whole lot about this until we had Dave Tan come in, and he started talking about the relationship with the Heavenly Father and with your earthly father, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, right? I strayed from the church. Probably as a teenager and as an I don't know, young adult, I actually had a lot of friends taking me to church. I had a gal that would take me to church, and 2 of my best friends were actually Mormons. They're really cool dudes. So we had a good time. We'd have spiritual conversations, but they could never convince me of anything. You know, I'd always bring, hey, what about the dinosaurs? How'd that guy live to be 900 years old? Stuff just didn't make sense to me. In my early 30s, I actually ended up marrying a believer, and she worked on me for about 10 years, trying to get me straight with Jesus. It never happened. We even found a church we really liked when we were living down south, Rancho Community. I don't know if anybody knows it, but it was one of the first times I ever went to one of these cool hip churches, where they got all the big worship and everything like that. It's like, whoa, this is not what I'm used to. But yeah, she worked on me for a while. We were actually unequally yoked in a lot of ways, not just with faith. So it didn't work out. I don't know. She just, it's weird because I kind of reconnected with her recently, but she was not the right messenger, and it wasn't the right time, and my heart was just really hard. So the message did not get through. We ended up getting divorced. It actually had nothing to do with my faith. And whoever was here last week probably heard a little bit about it, but we ended up getting divorced, and then, after getting divorced, what are you gonna do besides, getting drunk a lot and eating a lot of Hostess pies. After I drowned myself in misery for a little while, I decided, you know what, I gotta get myself back in gear. I was like, I'm gonna start working on myself. I'm gonna start working out like crazy, get my revenge body, show her what she's missing, right? Just start crushing life. That's what I wanted to do. And so I did that for 2 or 3 years. I'm just living the earthly life, just enjoying myself. Spiritually, I'm dead inside, right? And that was actually okay. And then March of 2021, I ended up meeting this gal, and probably a lot of these stories start this way. But yeah, I knew right from the start she was in my life for a reason. I didn't know what that reason was, but I can look back now and see that God was working pretty much from the start. It's really weird. After meeting her, like 2 or 3 days after meeting her, I'd watched porn like my entire life. It wasn't even a bad habit to me. It's just like, this is just what I do. This is what I know. I watch porn, right? Like 2 or 3 days after meeting this gal, she's like, I don't need this anymore. I just quit cold turkey. It's been 2 years, haven't looked back. Hasn't been an issue, don't even miss it. And then about 2 weeks in, I remember sitting on her couch, and I'm just looking at the walls, and it's like, she's got all these scriptures on the wall, all this Jesus stuff on the wall, and I was just like, oh no, this girl's a Jesus freak. It's like, ah. So do I tell her that I'm an atheist? Because she doesn't know at this time. Or do I just not tell her and just, enjoy the ride as long as I can? That's not really me, so I did tell her. And the weirdest thing is, she decides to keep me around. So she knows better. She knows she shouldn't be with an atheist. And then also, I drive a creeper van. So it's like, she has no business whatsoever being with me. But she keeps me around. And then not only that, she invites me to Easter service. So I was like, okay, what's the harm, right? I've been to church so many times, no big deal. So I decided to go to Easter with her, and then I just start attending regularly for like 2 or 3 months. And I say it's weird now, but all these little weird things started happening. And she'd point them out. She'd say, hey, this is God working, or that's a miracle. And I just, it's a coincidence, whatever, it's stuff like that just happens. And then she just asked me every once in a while, hey, you think you can give this a shot? And it's like, no, it's a tough ask, I don't see it happening. And about this time, I found out that she had been praying for me. Her girls had been praying for me. Her parents had been praying for me. And then all of her friends had been praying for me. And I called them the prayer bullies, because they all ganged up on me. They were all praying for me. And, God doesn't care how old you are. She had this little girl, and she was so tenacious. She was moved by the Spirit, and she kept dragging me to the welcome center at church, time after time. And on the third time, I finally got my Bible. It's actually that one right there that I've been reading. But so she kept taking me, and I got this Bible, and then she asked me one more time, hey, you think you can give this a shot? And I was like, I'll keep an open mind, right? So I'm starting to falter a little bit. So I started reading the Bible, and more importantly, I started praying. So I started saying, hey, Jesus, if you're out there, give me a sign. Hey, tell me what you want to do. Nothing. But I kept reading. Obviously I skipped to the New Testament. If you're going to know Jesus, you got to skip to the good parts, right? So I was reading, I was praying. This went on for another 2 or 3 months. And then she actually had a crisis of faith. I think she finally understood, hey, I shouldn't be with this guy because he's got a creeper van. No, that wasn't it. Just because I was not a believer. But anyways, Sean always talks about, was it trauma, transition, trial, right? Yeah. And that was a big, swift kick in the ass. So I almost never call in sick for work. I actually called out a couple of days just because I was feeling pretty miserable. Couldn't sleep. So I got up on a Friday morning, probably about 6 a.m., went up to Millerton. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and decided I'm going to go ahead and swim across the lake. And you guys might think that's crazy, but I actually was doing that fairly regularly. The crazy part is I went out there when it was still dark. I didn't have a wetsuit, no buoy, no swim cap. And then nobody with me, so I was being pretty reckless. I don't know what I was looking for, if I was looking for a sign or if I was just looking for a boat to hit me. But neither of those things happened, thankfully. Well, I don't know. But I got back and I started heading home, and I decided to stop at this Shell station in Friant. I'd always told her, if I buy a lottery ticket and I win the lottery, I'll believe in God. And I know that's stupid. But anyways, I went in there to buy a lottery ticket, and they wouldn't sell one to me because I didn't have any cash. And but I turn around and there's this young kid, this construction kid. He's got this orange reflective vest on. He's got this long mullet on, but then he's got the biggest cross I've ever seen, just like sitting on his chest, and it gets bigger every time I talk about it. But yeah, but I was like, I did a double take looking at this kid. I was like, that was really weird. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go home. So I went home later that day. I don't even remember what errand I was running, but I got my van and I was like, going somewhere. I don't know if I was getting groceries or whatnot, but I was like, okay, Jesus, if you're out there, give me a sign. And I turned on the radio, and I kid you not, out of all the thousands of songs that could come on, it was Freebird from Leonard Skinner. And it was that part that says, Lord knows I can't change. And I was like, what is going on here, right? This is so weird. I don't even know if I finished my errands or not. I just remember going home and sitting in my kitchen and looking at all the weird things that had happened up to that point and the weird things that had happened that day. I was like, oh my gosh, I just felt like an idiot. I decided to accept Jesus into my heart in the kitchen that afternoon, privately. I know it's supposed to be the best day of your life, but I just felt really stupid for being wrong for so many years. And so I needed a new church at that point because I wasn't going with her anymore. So I was like, well, Clovis Hills is close. So I started coming here. You know, Sean always talks about, hey, you know what, if you believe it in your heart and you confess it with your mouth, you know, it changes you, it activates your faith, right? And I'd been reading, I know you have to be public with your faith. So even though I had accepted Jesus into my heart, probably about 3 or 4 weeks into coming to Clovis Hills, I decided to raise my hand in church and go down and get my light bulb, get another Bible. So that was my public day. Since then, you know, I really enjoy this church. I like the core values that we have here. So, you know, the first one, obviously open acceptance. I would like to tell people we're not super judgy here. Like when I invite people, hey, we're not judgy, come here. So try not to be judgy. Dedication to God and His Word. So I'm still reading, still praying, lots of prayer actually. Working on my relationship with Jesus. And then generous service, it's nice because we've had so many opportunities and fun opportunities to serve here. I joined a Bible study last year. That was really good for me, really awesome. And then, you know, this group's kick-ass. This is an awesome group. Being here, there's been a lot of growth with me personally. You guys are awesome. Hume Lake was cool. Everybody went to Hume Lake. That was super awesome. And then August of last year, I got baptized. So it's been a really good year. That's kind of my story. I think it's, you know, a real testament to the power of prayer and how God can work in your life. My heart was really hard. You know, I was a stubborn guy, and I do think if I can be saved, pretty much anybody can be. So.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That's it. That's all I got.